This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
दोस्तों नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल, वड़क्कम, वेलकम आप सभी का भारत एफएम के इस कार्यक्रम में जिसका के नाम है रूबरू, तहे दिल से स्वागत है। मैं हूं आपका दोस्त और आपका होस्ट आरजे आशीष, और आज आप जिससे रूबरू हो रहे हैं उनका नाम है प्रिया सराय। A mom and a techno business professional, Priya Serai is our Aaj Ki Nari, trying to balance her work aspirations with family fun, with personal pleasures, with kid duties, with home demands, with etc., etc., etc. Priya is a good example of our next door woman who has some experiences to share on what may help most women with their day-to-day challenges. She lives in Philadelphia with her husband and 2 kids and is a Chief Information Officer at OmniCable. An engineer from Mumbai, she recently graduated from an Ivy League university, Wharton, while juggling a full-time job and family. Her career and life is full of exciting and inspiring roller coaster rides. Watch her show to know more. So let's welcome Priya. Welcome, Priya.
Hi, Ashi.
How are you?
I'm doing great. A little nervous, cold hands, cold feet. But doing great. Thank you.
You will do great. You will do awesome. First of all, happy Halloween. How are you celebrating your Halloween today?
Well, happy Halloween. I did consider wearing a little Halloween makeup and coming in my full-on Halloween getup. But then I thought, like, well, let me just show up with little to no makeup, and that would that would be your Halloween from me. No, we're doing a little trick or treating around the neighborhood because of COVID. We can't do much, so we're doing a candy hunt as opposed to going door to door. So people will just be spreading their candies out in their front yards, and the kids will still dress up and go around the neighborhood to get a little bit of a trick or treat feel. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I mean, same thing with us. I mean, we don't know how it is going to turn up because of COVID, but we'll see. Priya, as you would know, in our program in Rubaru, we usually talk about your life journey, and we start right from your birth. So tell us a little bit about where you were born, how was your childhood, a little bit about your story.
It's funny you say right from my birth, because not many people know this, but the hospital that I was born in was raised to ground soon after I was born. So that's always a family joke that ye jahan paida hui wo building hi gir gayi. It couldn't handle me being born in that building.
And where was it?
So this was in Mumbai, Amchi, Mumbai. I'm a Mumbai girl, born and brought up in Mumbai. Always been there. My school, my college, upbringing, everything has always been in Mumbai. I was born in Sion. This hospital was in Sion, and I'm married to a guy from Sion now. So I guess it was all destiny. But no, from Mumbai. My parents are still in Mumbai. My brother and sister, I have an older sister and a younger brother. They are now in Canada, but my parents are in Mumbai. My extended family is all over the place, mostly in Gujarat. My uncles, aunts, and cousins, and all of that. So Mumbai, we were just like the 5 of us, a small, strong knit group, and that's where I've been.
So okay, आपका जन्म हुआ और हॉस्पिटल तहस नहस हो गया. Okay, that we understand. Now let's move on to your school days. What kind of kid you were? What kind of child you were? Shararti, to I'm pretty sure. I'm very, very sure you must be a naughty girl. Knowing, I'm sorry.
I said, oh, so sure. Shararti to like thoda bahut. I would call myself more like a rebel. I've always been a rebel. If someone is asking me to do something, there's always why, which was kind of not very popular or common in my days, right? Like aajkal ke bacche to everybody is always asking why. But in my days, it was like, do this. And I'll be like, first tell me why. And what's the reason behind this? And ye kyun karna hai, wo kyun karna hai? It was always that. And if somebody is telling me not to do something, that's the first thing I want to explore and do. So my obviously that I got a lot of that from watching my mom and dad, although they probably don't know about this yet. My dad is Ashish. He's a very strong businessman. He was an entrepreneur. When he came from Gujarat, from Baroda, and he moved when he just had my elder sister. I was born in Mumbai, so when they moved from Baroda to Mumbai, they just had my elder sister Pinky. Pinky, your wife's name is Pinky. That reminds me. But my dad moved from Baroda, and you know how you hear stories in your Indian movies where parents move and they always say, "Main jeb mein 10 rupees leke aaya tha," and I did that. That is very true with my dad, because he literally started with nothing when he moved from Baroda to Mumbai, and he's a self-made man. And you don't become a self-made man without challenging status quo, right? You're always asking why. You're always trying to push your limits. And I've always seen him do that. So as a kid, I remember, I still remember, like I'm not the prettiest person in my family. But if you meet my family, they're all like very beautiful looking, very, very pretty. And my sister always got a lot of attention because of that. So I remember, I don't know why I still remember this, but I probably was in like first grade or kindergarten, probably like a very, very young kid. But you know how some memories just kind of stick with you. So I remember the day where they were sharing our report cards, and for our American audience, report cards, these days, you just get the rating 1 to 3. It wasn't like that. It wasn't meet expectations and above expectations. It was like proper grading, like you are rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, right? So then I didn't understand like really the importance and concept of, oh, you have to be like the top ranker or anything. But I was first rank in my class. And I didn't realize that it was that big a deal. And I remember coming from school to home, my mom was with me, and anybody and everybody asking like, oh, how did Priya do? My mom was like so happy to share, like, first aiye, baby, first aiye. But what I remember the most is we reached home, and I still like, even when I'm talking to you, I can just like remember I walked in and my dad was sitting in the bedroom, and mom and I walked in and we straight went to him. And he was like, oh, how did she do? And my mom said, first aiye. And my dad was like, he just like looked at me, and he always wore these polo shirts, and he lifted his collar and he was like, wah, collar ucha kar diya, right? Like he was so proud. And that phrase that he used, Ashish, like collar upar kar diya, it just stuck with me, like, oh, acha, so it's that important, right? And in my head, I'm like, you know what? I got to do this again, just to hear him say that. Ki, acha,
Right.
if I score, a top rank, daddy is so proud.
Right.
So that has always like been with me. Even now, when I do something, good, which I like to share with them, I wait for him to say that. Ba collar uncha kar diya, so that's always like been with me from my dad. And then mom, I can go on and on for the entire hour about my mom, like she's always been a homemaker, but I always feel like even if I can do 50% of what she has done as a homemaker, I'll feel accomplished with how I raise my kids. She was keeping the family so bonded, and where we all always share everything with everyone is something that I don't know how she did it with us. Like all of us had this habit, she'll be in the kitchen working or dusting or busy with her household chores, and when we finish our day and come home from school to work, right, all until I worked, and even now some days I don't finish my day until I share everything with her on what happened through the day. And all of us had this habit, not just me, all of us, like my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, all of us did that. And she didn't just like listen to us. She she actually remembered everything, and she will give you the tips and tricks to, forego any challenges that you're facing. It was simply amazing. Like, just watch her do that. Like, how do you remember my homework, my classwork, what subjects I'm good at, not good at, my friends, my frenemies, right? Like, everything she just remembered and knew, and she can talk back with you. Like, she'll walk the walk, talk the talk. Even with my dad, like, she used to handle all the business phone calls and everything coming at home. My dad didn't miss a single order, a single customer call, a single supplier call with my mom. Like, anything and everything that she received at home, I mean, we call her a homemaker, but I think she was a perfect partner for my dad, even to support his business. So I feel like whatever I do when I juggle through all these things, I feel like I get that from my mom and dad, because I grew up watching them do this, and that gives me like the energy and the passion to make it happen.
Thank you, Ria, for sharing all those beautiful memories with us and with our viewers. So, going back to school, what kind of friends you had, and what were you always passionate about growing up when you were at school?
What kind of friends? So so this is funny enough. You're going to take me down the memory lane. My school friends. So we had a co-ed school, and right across from our school was a girls' school. So a lot of my friends went to the girls' school, and some of my friends were with me in my co-ed. So I still remember Seema, Sony. They're all back in India now. I haven't even spoken with them in such a long time. The three of us used to be like the three musketeers, always together, always doing everything together. And then in my school, I remember, because my sister went to the same school, my elder sister, and then I followed her, right, like all through all the grades and everything. All the teachers used to sometimes mistakenly call me Pinky. So, so that was a lot. And at home, everybody was like, you guys don't look alike. But when I went to school, I guess, like, people who don't really know you, they probably see your face and features more than your day-to-day family members.
Right.
So my teachers always called me Pinky, and she was a great kid at school too. So I didn't have to work hard to make that impression or that first connection with your teacher. So I was always a good student, always the top ranker, and I always was like this monitor and head girl of the class, because of which all my classmates tried to be in my good books, so that when you have that free period, right, like Priya is my friend, she'll let me do certain stuff, right? So I used to be like that center of attention for that reason, because I always was the monitor of the class and always participated in all the shows. Dancing, singing was like my passion at that time. So did that a lot as well.
Okay. So, my next question is very related to what I am seeing in my kids these days. So I have a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old. And if I ask them, what is your passion? What do you want to do after you complete your education? And that keeps changing almost on a daily basis. So when you were growing up, how was your thought process? Were you passionate about something at that time itself? Did you know at that time what you want to do in life?
So yes, and it keeps changing. It keeps changing even now, Ashish, by the way. Right? That's why if I'm on any professional interviews or talk shows, I always say that I'm a girl with recyclable dreams. Like, recycling and sustainability is everywhere in every field. Why not with your dreams, right? Like, the world is changing so much. It's okay to change with the world. It's okay to grow and evolve in your dreams as well. So growing up, I wanted to become a teacher, because I enjoyed being the monitor with the scale and top of the class and controlling everyone and telling them what to do. So teacher to hamesha se tha. And then I had this passion. I remember my first doll was Dr. Barbie. So I wanted to become a doctor. That was the next thing. And that doctor thing stuck with me for a really long time.
Okay.
so that I really wanted to be a doctor. And then when the time came, like after 10th standard, when we have to, pick your stream,
Correct.
I really wanted to go into science and then pursue the medical field. But at that time, I think computer science was emerging. And my mom convinced me that if you want to be a doctor and if you want to study in Mumbai, then it's going to be very, very challenging because there's very, less number of schools and less number of seats for medical available in Mumbai. And by the way, my family, like my extended family, we come from a little conservative family. So my cousins and others, they were not very like career oriented or anything of that sort. Like everybody was educated, of course, but ऐसे नहीं था कि you have to study because you want to become something. It was more like check the box, like you have to be educated, but you need your degree. But सबका वही है कि you want to get married and have kids and ऐसे था. So I was like the only one in my family at that time who really, everybody knew that I want to pursue something. Like I want to become something in life. I want to be like my dad. I want to be a self-made man, right? So when my mom was kind of worried, like, abhi tak to theek hai, daddy is saying, हाँ बच्चा जो करना है करो. But at some point that's going to backfire because she was worried that my dad, coming from such a conservative family, he won't let me go outside Mumbai to study and do all that. So now she tells me all that was a big reason why she convinced me to switch fields. Because she was worried that if I don't get into a medical college in Mumbai, we'll have this clash with my dad to go and study outside of Mumbai.
Oh, okay.
So that was her driver in her head. But obviously she didn't convince me for those reasons. She was more like showing me, look where computers are going and, this is going to be the next big field and this and that. So that's how my sister and my mom, they convinced me, and they convinced me so bad, Ashish, that engineering ke liye bhi to science lena padta hai na.
Right.
So they made me enroll in my diploma engineering. So the way I did it was after 10th, I did 3 years of diploma and then 3 years of degree. So it was still 10 plus 6, but you don't do like 11th, 12th, and then 4 years of engineering. That was not my route. My route was diploma.
Yeah, that's what I have done. 12 plus 4 is what I have done. 10 plus 3 plus 3, right? Yes.
Yeah. So they did that because like once I do the diploma, then that science is not there, right? Like now I'm hardcore engineering. So that's how they did it, and I don't repent it a bit now. Like I love where I am, and I think I've done pretty okay. And my dreams evolved from there, right? Then I wanted to be like in one of those big conference rooms, and then I wanted to be a boss, and then now I'm in the boardrooms and I want to talk to the CEO. Like how you grow up, you keep evolving on what your next is, and I thoroughly enjoy what I do right now.
So you complete your 10th standard and you move into this college, which is for doing your diploma. Where was that?
Mumbai. Always in Mumbai, right? So my entire life is in Mumbai, and in the 10-15 mile radius actually.
Oh, अच्छा, तो diploma कहाँ से किया?
Diploma bhi Vivekanand, Chembur.
And the degree also Vivekanand?
So degree was Shayananker, which was like a little bit far from Vivekanand, but Chembur again, right?
Right. So tell me, when you joined Vivekanand, as you said that your mom convinced you to get into computers, what was your experience when you initially started at Vivekanand with all these engineering subjects? And how was your 3 years at Vivekanand? What do you remember?
So this one story that I remember, and it is so fresh in my mind right now. I'll connect the dots for you in a minute here. So engineering, it's a very men-focused field, or it used to be. I think things have changed now.
Yeah.
But still, that percent of girls in the school was always quite lower than boys. And then depending on which subjects you're taking and which extra classes you're going for, that proportion kept varying quite a bit. So I still remember my first year diploma, and you all already feel like you're an engineer, right? Achha, main to bachchi engineering kar rahi, right? So I remember we had this engineering drawing class, And it actually gave you a feel of being an engineer because you had this big drafter.
Exactly.
And, these big things that you carried. And as you are going, you like, I'm an engineer, like, thought say you're walking, everybody's like, oh, are you beta engineering kar rahe ho? Even aunties who don't know you, when you're standing at your bus stop, everybody's like watching you. And, so I was like very proudly going for my engineering class. And this was my extracurricular class that I had taken, one of the classes in Ghatkopar for after school, after college. So it was an evening time. I'm going to my class, and I was running a couple minutes late. So the class had already started when I reached there, and I knew exactly where I had to go. So I opened the door, and as soon as I opened the door, it was filled with boys only.
Wow.
There was not a single girl in the class. Left all the desks, right? All the desks, everything is like taken. It was packed, it was full, and I don't see a single girl. And I'm like really scanning the room quickly. The professor was standing right ahead of me in front, and he sees the hesitation in me, and he waves and he calls me up front, like, come here and take the seat, like the first desk, first bench. So I'm like walking my head down and just like trying not to make eye contact. And I go and I sit there. The class went on for like 90 minutes. It was a 90-minute class. And I'm like constantly just in that pressure, a little sweating, that how am I going to survive this for the next 1 year?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sitting, trying to pay attention. And then when the class was done, again, walking out, like when I was coming in, the professor waved and, like I was like, okay, I have someone, right? But when the class was done, the professor left. And remember, I'm on the first. I have to walk all the way back to the door. And you're talking about a bunch of teenage boys, right?
Right.
So like people are staring, passing comments and thus. And then I'm like, again, like really holding tight to my drafter and stuff. And then walking back. But obviously survived the class, survived the 1 year. But the reason this thing is so fresh in my head still is I remember now in my new company, just a couple weeks in, we had a big strategy meeting. And it's this business that we are in is, again, a very heavy male-dominated business. It's wire and cable distribution. So I go in that meeting, and the first couple of weeks, I still don't know anybody, don't know anyone. I'm sitting there, and it's again, the room is full of men. And there's always a hesitation in your new job, wherever you start, and you always try to look for that comfort zone with someone, right? Like you can interact with. And I don't know anyone. With COVID, I haven't really formed any relation with anyone yet. So I'm sitting there, and immediately that drawing class is coming in my head. That, oh my God, this is the same. Like, oh my God, this is surrounded by all men meeting, right?
That
So,
definitely helped you. Did it ever occur to you at that point, the very first day when you come out of that class and going home, what have I done? Did that question ever come to you?
It does, right? And it still does. It did at that time. It still does. And there are moments where you feel like, why do I have to go through this, right? Like I can make my life easy. I can take the easy path. I could have switched out of the drawing class, or I don't need to work for a company where it's heavy male dominated. But then I feel like, is that what you want? Is it just that? Because it takes a little bit of push and a nudge, and you get through it. What keeps you going is the small wins that you make along the path, and you remind yourself why you are doing this. Like, what's your goal? What gives you, end of the day, what gives you that sense of accomplishment? Okay, yes, I did it, right? And it's not taking the easy path typically that gives you that sense of accomplishment. It's actually going through that challenging path and coming out of it is what gives me that boost and that, that rush that, yes, I did it, and I can do it. I can do more. And I push myself for that. Like, okay, I can do more. And I feel like along the way, I feel you'll always find someone to help you.
That's true.
Right? Like in this particular case in the meeting, my manager was there, my boss was there, and he helped me, right? Like he kept me engaged. He called me out. He introduced me to everyone. So he kind of made me feel comfortable. in that drawing class, it was my professor who did that. So there is always, I feel like if you push, that you will find people along the way who will work with you. Like, ठीक है, world is bad these days. We hear so many, sob stories, negative stories, but I feel like there's still enough good out there that if you take that step, then you will find that help. You will find that the way to kind of get you going. So don't give up in that first weakness moment. Like, try to push through it.
Agree. Agree. So the reason I was asking that is because I was connecting that to your women empowerment that you are very passionate about. So is there any experience that you personally had during those years which basically triggered that?
I think we were living in Mumbai. Those experiences happen to you every day. And it's unfortunate that happens, but it's not just watching the news, but little things happen to you every day. Like eve teasing is a big issue in India, right? And you don't see that too much in the streets of US, which is thankfully good. But in Mumbai, like you're going about your business. You're walking to your bus stop or your train station to go to school, to go to work, whatever that is. And you city mardi, someone will whistle. Sometimes they even like hit you, right? Like they'll touch you and they'll just go. So it's those things that like really bother. And I know a lot of women back home, they'll suppress that and they'll just sit back home. Then again, why do you want to do it? I feel like women should have a choice, right? Why stop them? I mean, there's no problem if you don't want to work. If you want to be a homemaker, that's perfectly fine. My mom's a homemaker, but you should have that choice, right? Like you want to work, you should be able to work. You want to be home, be home. You want to go sing, you want to go dance, whatever you want to do, right? Like give them that choice and don't take that away from them, right? That has always bothered me. So no, it's not like a very dreadful or dire incident that happened to me. It's nothing like that. But I think I heard enough stories growing up. Friend of a friend went through this, went through that, and just the little incidents that happened to me in person when I'm walking down the street. Those type of things I kind of has given me that thing in me that. I don't want to do anything out of the way, or I can't do anything out of the way yet. But if I can share my own experiences and give people that support and push that they need to go that extra mile is all I can do. And I try to do that.
Right. Thank you very much, Priya. So was there any difference between Vivekanand and Shah and Anchor? Did anything change?
No, not much. Shine Anchor, I think the only thing changed was my personality, that I made friends more with boys than with girls, right? Like if you look at the sample or the pool, you kind of, there were more.
It's bound to happen. Yeah, you can't do it with that.
So I kind of just got comfortable with that fact that okay, that's how it's going to be. Right. And even in Shan Anchor, my group, I had 3 boys in my group and me. It was Rutu, Rutvij, Ashish, and Santosh. And Ashish, there was another Ashish. So it was Rutu is now in Mumbai. I met with him the last time I went to India. Ashish and Santosh are in Australia. So we the 4 of us were great. I had a couple like female friends as well, but like the 4 of us were always together.
Close. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So let's move on to the next step in your life. After you completed your engineering from Shah and Anchor, the next thing was obviously to find a job, right? How was that experience, and where did you land up eventually? And what, if you remember any story around that, if there was a struggle, I don't know how it went for you. So if you could share that, please.
So there was, thankfully, there was not much of a struggle to land a job. I wanted to become a teacher, right? So after graduation, a couple months, I taught in one of the engineering colleges, first year engineering students. And all along, like I think in this even the college days or early work days, I think my brother and I had a blast through those times because we were like 2 teenagers growing up at the same time, right? And sharing experiences with each other. I still call him like he's my kucha, and kucha doesn't mean anything, but it's just a cute word. So he's like my kucha, and like I always like hung on to him. So he has always been like my best friend throughout growing up, and we fought like dogs and cats, but end of the day we were like he was my best friend. So even when I was switching and went to this being a teacher in an engineering college, it was a little tough. Like I was a teacher for just 3 months before I then joined Tata Consultancy as my first genuine engineering job. It was tough because I was still a kid, right? Like I just had my graduation, and now I'm a teacher. So the way I dressed, the way I talked, was still like a student, right? Like I was friends with my students, and then obviously the other teachers frowned upon that. So that I was like, yeah, this is not my cup of tea. I can't be one of those teachers who was like a teacher, right? Like I'm probably always going to be friend with my students. So that wasn't for me. It was too conservative for me to deal with. And then I took up this job in TCS, and it wasn't exactly a campus interview, but it was like a campus interview feel, because it was all the recent graduates kind of interviewing in this one big college in like South Bombay, and we were all there, and it was Valentine's Day, by the way, when I did the interview. So I was with my boyfriend at that time, and then one other couple like who were friends. So the four of us kind of went together for that interview. And we kind of made a day out of it. Like none of us were really serious about the job, but we were just there. So obviously in between, it was an all-day thing. Like it started with this written test, then oral examination, and then every hurdle you cross, it was like some students were dropping out. So coincidentally, amongst the four of us, I was the only one left till the end, till the end of the day. And I wasn't expecting a bit, because I was the one who was not interested in taking the job, but I was the one who was left till the end. And end of the day, I got the offer. So I happily came home, and then I accepted it because it was a good offer. It was TCS. Tata is still a big name. But then it was like the number one software company to work for, because software was just booming at that time. This was 2003, 2004. So I took that job very happily, came home, and my parents were happy. My dad ka caller was again, yes, oh, Tata ke liye kaam karegi beti, right? Like it was great. It was fun.
So how long were you with TCS, and what was your experience over there?
TCS was great. We had 1 month of training at that time. They taught us all this whole software development life cycle. We took Java training and all of that, how to work for a corporate, how does the American culture work, because a lot of our clients were US based clients. So it was great. It was a great experience. And this is again, a secret I had never shared with my family at that time. Now they know. But growing up, when I was constantly always bothered with all the women issues around you, I was like, वो बोलते हैं ना, मैं इंडिया के लिए बनी ही नहीं हूँ, मैं बाहर जाऊंगी. So it was always like, I want to explore the world. I want to do something beyond India. I want to know more about the world, right? So I was 16 when I passed my 10th standard. And then the big break that you get in between joining your college and your school, I joined this organization, Indo-American Society. And that used to be it was like a 2-week course. It was a very short course, but 2 weeks you had to take a train and go to proper Mumbai, proper Bombay, in VT that time, now CST. And I used to travel. That was like my first train travel by myself, nobody with me, right?
That is a big challenge, right, in Mumbai?
It's a big challenge in Mumbai to take trains, right? But that's where I learned about the American culture a lot, the American phrases, how to talk, public speaking, all of that. So I took those courses very early on, because I had this in my head that I want to explore the world. I want to do something beyond just staying back in Mumbai. So that helped. So when I went to TCS and they were doing a lot of trainings around American culture, it's okay to do this here, not okay to do it there. Here's how you interact with your clients and all that. And I drew a lot of parallels with what I learned in Indo-American society. That all came very quickly to me because I watched a lot of American shows and just to kind of keep myself prepared. So that helped, and it was a great learning experience. Their training was top notch. I'll tell you, like some of those concepts that I learned then I still use here. Like my first client was GE, so Six Sigma. I did my Six Sigma certification and all of that at that time. So it was pretty good, pretty enriching.
So was it through TCS that you stepped out of Mumbai for the first time or out of India for the first time?
So that's another story.
I know that there is a story. Tell me.
So TCS was obviously we had US clients and going on site is how we call it, right? Like you work offshore for a client, and now you have to go on site to working for that same project, same client, but with the client in their city. So got a lot of on-site opportunities, and again there was like a little bit of mom and dad equation there, right? Like they were so protective, always in Mumbai, always been with us. So they were always like a little worried that, oh my God, like she's really gonna go. Yeah. And well, but even, I missed that. Even before joining TCS, one of the things that I wanted to do was pursue my master's, Master of Science here in US. And I went through the whole like GRE, TOEFL, all those exams. I scored pretty okay. Got admits from 2 universities, George Washington and Drexel here. Drexel is here in Philadelphia. But I didn't get any scholarship. And that time, because it was 2003, 2004, it was very close to the 9/11 issue, 9/11 incident. So visas had become extremely difficult to get. Like if sometimes even people who had scholarships and admits and everything, they couldn't get their visa stamped for whatever rhyme or reason. And at that time, just getting a visa was a big, big deal. Student visa, F1 visa. And I got my visa stamped. So it was a big deal. Like all my friends were, really happy for me that, oh my God, like, okay, you got a good admit and you got your visa stamp. This is perfect, right? My mom was a little not happy, like, kaise jayegi akeli ladki and all that. But my dad was like fully supportive, right? Yes, you should go, should do that. But didn't really financially, because I didn't have scholarship, I didn't want to burden them with the college fees and all that. So I took the decision to not go, and I took that with like really stones on my heart that I'm going to forego the visa. And then when I joined TCS, on-site opportunity was huge for me. A couple came by, but every time it was like getting close to going, and a month before, they would either cancel the project or someone else got the opportunity instead of me, or, because of budget, the project is scaling down. Like there was always some or the other reason and it wouldn't happen. And then I, again, would go for the stamping, go for the visas. And from F1, I went to L1 visa, and but then wouldn't go. So finally, the way I came in was getting married and coming here with Suraj. Like, I'm gonna go to US.
Let's talk about that. How did that happen? When did that happen? A little bit of story about Suraj, if you can share.
So Suraj, it was I always wanted to do a love marriage, but didn't work out that way. Suraj and I met via one of my neighbors, who I, by the way, did not get along with at all. I fought with them all the time because I was obviously this rebel. And, they would always try to like bring me down, like Diwali ke patake mat jalao, don't do this, don't do that. And I would purposely do it. And we always fought. But that neighbor auntie, she bought this rishta, like, there's this, these friends in Sion, and, his son, their son is in US. So we think that, this will really go well, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, Mom, this auntie can never mean well for me. There's no way this boy is good. So, but my mom is like, baat karne mein kya harj hai? That time Yahoo chat was big. So they were like, talk on Yahoo chat at least. And obviously we started chatting a lot. And
Suraj was already in the US, right? Suraj was already.
Suraj was in US. He was pursuing his PhD, and I was in Mumbai. And that was my condition, right? Like my mom, dad came, okay, I'll do arranged marriage, but the boy should be in US. Like only if you guys are okay with that.
Ekdam clear cut, huh?
Huh, huh. So yeah, so that, and then the other thing, like other conditions, na, कि मैं खाना नहीं बनाऊंगी, like I won't do this, I won't do that. So because it was for me, like arranged marriage was like, you have to walk with a tray and silai, kadai, bunai, all that. So I was like, absolutely no, I'm not going to do all that. So look for a boy who comes from a career family, so that they understand and respect my career aspirations, and can give me the freedom. This is a strong word, but freedom, kind of like to do what you want, right? To live your life the way you want. And obviously started chatting with Suraj. Suraj's parents are doctors in Mumbai, so they were very open-minded, very, very cool with everything. And then we started chatting, and it went well. Like we really connected. We could go on and on for hours on chat without realizing what time it was. And then he came in one of the Decembers. All people go to India in December.
Right.
So one of the Decembers he came, and then we met, and we liked families. We clicked, and Suraj and I clicked. I remember we went a couple times, and then every time I go out with him, my mom's like, "Okay, what's the decision?" And I'd be like, "The guy is nice, but I don't know if I want to marry him." अब ये क्या बात हो गई कि लड़का अच्छा है तो शादी क्यों नहीं कर सकते? No, it was fun. It was the whole arranged marriage thing was fun, Ashish, because it was like I was dating with my mom, dad's permission. So that is fun to it.
Right.
Yes.
So let me ask you this: after you got married, did you go and personally thank your neighbor?
I wouldn't go that far. No, it was fine. I think my neighbor and I got along after that. Obviously, they attended my engagement, my wedding, and all of that. No, so I don't think I went and thanked them.
All right. So, शादी हो गई, सब कुछ हो गया. You land here in the US, and then what happened? I mean, I'm assuming you came here on a spouse visa, which is a dependent visa.
Yeah, so it was that was interesting, right? Because I still remember when we were getting engaged, we had our engagement party, and all family friends were asking, so after engagement, Suraj is going to go back to US. You're going to be here. What are you guys planning next, and all that? And that time I had this GE project, which was very strong. And January was our engagement, and March I had plans to fly to US. It was that strong. Everything was again done. Visa was done. Project was ready. Everything was ready. But just my luck, February, the project canceled. So January, in our engagement, we're standing there and saying, "Oh, like March, Priya's coming to US, so we'll be together and all that." But no, March it didn't happen. February, my project got canceled, and that was again downfall one more time. Couldn't make that work. So obviously I was waiting for another project with the same client, because I was still working offshore for the same customer. But it looked like it's going to be another year or so before things pick up again. So then Suraj and I, we were going to wait until December to get married, but we were like, okay, then let's push it up. And then we got married in May instead. And then in May, I went on a dependent visa, so another visa, right? My passport was full of US visas at that time. So I got a dependent visa, but I took a sabbatical with TCS, and I applied my work visa through another contracting company. And that was the first year when they started this lottery system.
Oh,
like the H1s, you don't just get an H1, you get picked in the lottery.
Yeah.
So I got picked in the lottery.
Nice.
But until that, it's always like, oh, I'm gonna make this, and then go down.
There's always a but in your story.
There's always a but. So I got this H1, and but the company got blacklisted. The consulting company who I was going with, they got blacklisted. because that time there was like a lot of these contracting companies who would sponsor your visa without a client with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that obviously, it helped me, but it's not good for the
It's
system.
not legal. Yeah.
Yeah. So didn't work. So I didn't have an H1, but thankfully, because I was still on a sabbatical with TCS, after coming here, I took like a month or so break just to spend time with Suraj. And then I resumed my work with TCS. But Suraj was in Chicago still that time. He was defending his PhD still. And the project that I got with TCS was in LA with Warner Brothers. So obviously great company, great client to go for, but LA, and Suraj is in Chicago. And that was a tough one for us, because within a couple months of being married, we have to stay apart. So that was a very tough decision.
Driving distance, like you have to fly. Agar driving distance hai, to at least you know that you can meet over the weekend. But here it was more difficult, right? Yeah.
Exactly. But I think that's where the big career person in me kind of took over me, right? Like I was like, okay, I understand it was a emotionally tough decision for both of us. Suraj left it on me. Financially, obviously, it'll be helpful if you work, but It's up to you what you want to do, right? So I took that step that, okay, I want to go, right? Like, let's go LA. And obviously, I'm like really scared, because I've always been in the cocoon, always staying with my mom, dad all the time. And now I have to make it on my own, like get my own apartment in this new country, different culture, everything different. So it was super scary, super scary. I had to go back to India to get my L1 stamped again. And it was a very short trip, 15-day trip to India. Went to India, came back. When I came back, I had to straight go to LA for visa reasons. But again, it was a wonderful experience being in LA. And
Okay. So we have like very few minutes left. And I remember talking to you, Priya. You were hesitant about an hour. And now you when an hour is less, right? I told you hour will be fine. So my next question is, at what point you felt that you need to do something about women empowerment, and what have you been doing so far on that?
So I've done on and off a lot, Ashish, for women empowerment. Like I said, women empowerment has always been in me. It's not like I woke up one day and some incident happened and I felt like, no, I've got to do something. I think growing up, it has always been with me. Like in India, I used to go to some of the social work, like with your guides and scouts camps and stuff like that, where train little girls on growing up, puberty, and that it's not wrong, it's nothing bad. You haven't changed, you're still the person you are. So I used to do a lot of that. I used to go on little education camps where you're teaching villagers, and especially women, on basic math, how to sign your name, what questions to ask. So just like basic skills so that people don't take advantage of you is something I feel like is helpful. So those little things I've always done, even growing up in India. Coming here, I've started some women in tech organizations, either participated in them or spearheaded them. One was in Cincinnati with ComSpark that I did. Then there was with PMI, Southwest Ohio chapters, I did some talks on, again, women in tech. And it has been mainly around that women should get a choice. Like, it doesn't have to be career or family.
Right.
It can be career and family.
Right.
Do both. And obviously, you need a great deal of family support to make that work, to make that happen. And luckily, like, Suraj has been awesome. Like, he's been my rock throughout, right? And whatever I've done. And I'm blessed with 2 kids who are so nice. Like, even through COVID, I know people complain, and everybody has ups and downs with kids. But I feel like we are a great team together in how we manage the kids. And thankfully, my kids behave, and and then we make it work. And just sharing those little things on what are you doing day to day, and then knowing that everybody has that down. Because people talk to you sometimes, they just see this aura like, oh my God, you have accomplished, you are doing good, and you are fine. But what they don't see is that, no, behind the scenes, there is a lot going on.
Mhm.
There is a lot of ups and downs. The big thing is just that grit, and don't give up. Like, because you're having a rough day, you can sit and cry. I've sat in my room and cried a lot throughout this, and then there are many times you think about, why am I doing this? What is this? Is this worth? But I think end of the day, it's worth. And just sharing those experiences with your women colleagues and their family members to give them the support that they need is end of the day what's needed. Ashish, Pinky, right? Like
Yes.
she's their
Yes.
education, right?
Yes. Very well said, Priya. So, as you mentioned, there has been a lot of buts in your life. Which was the most difficult but in your life, and how do you handle that? How did you handle that?
So the most difficult was with Wharton, Ashish. When I moved to Philly here, I did my MBA here after I moved here, while managing a job and family and everything. But I lost my job in between. So I was doing my executive MBA, and one of the big conditions of doing an executive MBA is that you have to be an executive with a company. You have to have a full-time job, and because you use your job experiences and what you learn and how you apply and what you share with your teams and all of that. So I lost my job, and it was the most dreadful few months that I had until I found my next gig. It's because like I feel like I've always done well at whatever I did, in school, at work, and with everything. Like I always try to do the best I can. So losing a job was like a slap in the face, right? And here I was thinking, oh my God, I'm at Wharton, I'm an Ivy League person, and the next day I don't have a job. It was a very difficult time financially, yes, but emotionally, to kind of swallow that pill that like someone can fire me was very hard. Now obviously looking back, I feel like I was just caught in the politics and I didn't play that well, and that's why stuff happened. So obviously now it's more like a learning experience for me on what not to do. And then obviously it was a very toxic place, and end of the day I feel like thank God that happened. Otherwise I probably would have been still stuck there. But it's that was like the roughest phase of my life, I would say, with managing Wharton fees, dealing with that pressure of losing the job and everything was a lot to deal with.
So, what kept you strong and hopeful during these tough times?
It was very hard. My study group at Wharton is amazing. We're still great friends. I feel like I haven't shared. I forgot to share any of the pictures. But my study group, like they were again a rock with me. They heard me a lot. These are my friends for one of the Wharton nights that we had. And obviously Suraj, right? Like he has always been, don't worry, we got this. He always like tried to show me the positive side of it, that this is gonna work, this is gonna happen, don't worry. My mom, my sister, my brother, I feel like I kept calling them literally every day, and they would listen to my sob story every day, like how am I getting through this? So I think that family and friend support that I had really helped me get through it.
That's awesome.
They kept reminding me that I'm still that same person. I'm still good at what I do, and this is just a little bit of problem that I'm facing.
Yeah, it's just another butt in your life. That's it.
Just another butt in my life. Yes.
All right. So now tell us a little bit about your hobbies, your passion, other than your women empowerment and your passion with your work and everything. Is there something else that Priya loves doing and has done it?
So this is another thing like Suraj really helps me with, right? Like he always makes sure that I find time to do something that I like. And that obviously keeps all of us going, right? Like happy wife, happy life, I think. But I like to do something adventurous every year. So there was a year where I did skydiving. There was a year that I went for like parasailing and zip lining and all that good stuff. There was a year where I wanted to dance because I always liked to dance as a kid, but never really received any formal training. So I did Kathak. And then when all of that wasn't happening, I did Wharton. Obviously, my family was like, you're crazy. You want to do an MBA now in the middle of all of this. So let me, you know what? I have a quick skydiving video.
Sure.
Let me share that.
That will be awesome. Yeah, let's look at that.
Oh, so yeah.
If I was reading your lips right, what were you? All right. Let's not go there.
Let's
So-
go there, yeah.
Yeah, so I am a little bit like you as well. I love adventure. I have done skydiving as well, and I keep talking about these different adventures to my to Pinky and my friends. A couple of them, they're like, "You are crazy," and I'm like, "Yes, I know I'm crazy."
Yeah, but I'll second that.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. I mean, that it's just a different kind of fun. I mean, no, there is definitely a risk in that, but risk तो यार हर second में है. आप बैठे बैठे भी कुछ भी हो सकता है आपको. तो risks के वजह से, I mean, if you don't take risks, there is no life.
Right.
So
That's it's just like finding the time to whatever,
Right.
right? Whatever you like. Because I know there are people who say, "Me, our family hai, job hai, ye hai, wo hai."
You're right. You're right.
Just try to find time, right? Like I know it's hard, and that's where that's the only thing that I keep telling you. If you keep doing what you like doing and what you enjoy doing, you just find time for it. Like I remember Wharton days, I used to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to study the 2 hours so that evening I can spend time with my family. Like otherwise, I'm cutting on my family time, right? So it's like trying to steal time from your day is what it takes.
That you have said it exactly the way I wanted to say it, because there are people right now who are actually questioning me, where are you finding time to do what you're doing at Bharat FM? And I'm like, I'm not finding time. That's my priority. Everything else takes a backseat. That's exactly how it is working. Because anytime somebody says that I don't have time, that means that particular thing is not a priority for you at that point in time. If you, and so that's exactly what it is, and you said it right. So thank you very much. So we have like 2 minutes left. What do you have in mind for future? What are your aspirations? What do you want to? Where do you want to see yourself few years down the line?
So I know I've heard some of your interviews, Ashish. This is where I was hesitating coming in because in the last 2 minutes, people typically have like this purpose. Like I heard Shreya, right? She talks about the passion in the social work, the difference she wants to make in the world. And I get very humbled when I meet people like that, because my passion is very materialistic.
I like that, Priya, that you're being very, very honest about that. I mean,
I'm very honest, right? Like मुझे बड़ा घर, बड़ी गाड़ी, I want my brands, I want to fly business class. Like it's very materialistic, but I'm not ashamed of that. I'll never compromise on my ethics to get what I want in life. But these are very simple choices that I want in life. I obviously love my family. I want to spend time with my family. I want to go on nice big vacations with my family and achieve my career goals. My next goal is my CEO, be the CEO.
I want to interrupt you a little bit. So who is Priya Serai?
Oh, Pooja Serai is my sister-in-law.
Oh, okay. So I really love that. Risk hai to ishq hai. You know where that is coming from, right?
Yes, yes.
Have you seen the entire series yet?
I haven't yet.
You
But
have to. It's a very, very well made web series. I mean, it's one of the best web series in today's time. Uh,
absolutely.
sorry,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No,
Continue.
no, no. I think this was great. I'm glad Pooja is watching. I haven't given enough credit to Suraj's family, right? Like Suraj has been my rock all along, but it's because what he has seen growing up with his family on how always the men in his family have supported the women in their family. So I think I'm very blessed to be with Suraj, to grow up with such wonderful parents who taught me so much in life, and having that support to be with me to achieve all my materialistic objectives is what it is. So for the women out there, right? Like I know sometimes this purpose and goal is I feel like sometimes it's overrated when you listen to talk shows and you feel like I don't have a purpose in life. But I feel like sometimes purpose in life is to just live the life, and
That's true.
and that's good enough, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I like to be.
That's perfect. That's exactly how I am. So very, very, very similar thought process we have, Priya. We are like a minute over, but before we end, any last few words that you would like to say to our listeners and our viewers?
So it's a radio show. I want to sing something. I've
Of course.
spoken a lot, so I may not have my singing voice, but I'm going to do it anyway. कैसे कैसे धागों से बुनी है ये दुनिया, कैसे कैसे धागों से बुनी है ये दुनिया, कुछ तूने सी है मैंने की है रफू ये डोरियां, कुछ तूने सी है मैंने की है रफू ये डोरियां.
That was awesome. इसी बात पर तालियां. Thank you very much, Priya. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm pretty sure all our listeners and viewers would have enjoyed it too. And I'm sure you would have enjoyed it too, because I still remember our conversation yesterday. And now you must be feeling कि यार एक घंटा तो कम पड़ गया, don't you?
Let's go for one more, right?
So thank you very much on coming our show and sharing your stories with our listeners and viewers. With that, all the good luck and best wishes for your future and your career and your family and friends. And with that, we will take a leave. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you. Bye.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत.